Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, we're going to do another Bites and Nibbles segment today, and this one's going to be a little bit different because today I'm going to go and revisit a recipe that we tried a couple weeks ago. You may recall about 2 weeks ago I did a recipe called Cheeseburger Pies for Emily. Now I thought that was a really good recipe. It was a real good starting point, but that there was a lot of room for improvement. So today I'm going to kind of throw in my own version of this, and we're going to see what we can come up with. Let's go. So these were the original ingredients from our recipe a couple weeks ago. It was, of course, the Bisquick pancake mix, an onion, some ground beef, a couple of eggs, some cheddar cheese, a cup of milk, and some salt for flavor. To that, this time, I'm going to use those same ingredients, but I've gotten some different kinds of cheese. I've got a nice mozzarella cheese that I'm going to use. I got a Jalapeno Jack cheese that I got from the deli. I also got some Provolone cheese from the deli. I got some feta cheese from the deli. I got a good Pico De Gallo sauce, and I got some diced jalapeno peppers. And we're going to mix that all in, and I think that's going to make this even better than the original one. So let's get going on this. I think this is going to be good. Now, I've always really liked cheesy things, especially when you're eating it and then the cheese just becomes stringy and just pulls away, from like pizza and stuff like that. That's really good. And so that's why I chose things like the mozzarella cheese and the provolone cheese, because I know those will melt and become just really stringy cheese when you eat it. So I'm looking forward to this. So the first thing I got to do is I got to grate all my cheese. Now, a lot of times you can buy certain very common brands of cheese that are already pre-grated, but when you get things like Jalapeno Jack or provolone cheese, sometimes you got to get it in blocks and grate it yourself. So you know what that looks like. So next thing you see is going to be a bunch of grated cheese. So I got all the cheese all grated up. I got it all kind of in a mixing bowl right now, just kind of sitting in the refrigerator until I'm ready for it. So we're going to start off this recipe just like we did last time. We're going to brown some ground beef and the onions in a medium fry pan on medium heat for 8 to 10 minutes until it's nice and golden brown. All right, meat's coming along nicely. I think we're going to put this aside for now, and let's work on the rest of this. So normally at this point what would happen is the ground beef would go into the pie tin, but this is actually where I'm going to deviate a little bit from my recipe. I've got about a quarter cup here each of the jalapeno sliced diced jalapenos and the Pico De Gallo sauce, and I'm going to actually mix that in with the meat, and we're going to just kind of stir that up. You have to use your imagination. I need three hands to do this, so hang on a second. I've got that mixed in pretty good. I'm also going to throw in my salt at this point and stir that in also. So the salt is kind of an unnecessary ingredient if you don't want it. There isn't really that much of it, and it probably doesn't do that much for the flavor. So if you don't really want, if you're trying to cut down on your salt intake, you know what, you could probably drop that and not be much of a problem. Now, according to the recipe, you actually preheat the oven at the very beginning. I'm doing it a little later. I'm going to do it now because it takes a little longer to prepare the ingredients when you're shooting a vlog also. So normally you do this at the beginning, but we're going to set the temperature for 400 degrees, and we're going to let that preheat. And if you're wondering what the Gatorade's for, that's for the chef. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a cue from my mom's lasagna, because my mom, when she makes her lasagna, you may recall when I did that recipe for you a while back, that the lasagna is built in layers. You put some of the pasta sauce, then you put the pasta, then you put the meat, then you put the cheese, and then you layer upon layer upon layer. I'm going to do the same approach. I'm going to start with a layer of meat, then I'm going to coat that with cheese, and I'm going to put some more meat and some more cheese and some more meat and some more cheese until we filled up this pie tin. So we got the meat in. Now I'm going to coat it with a healthy layer of cheese. Just kind of try and cover up everything that looks like it's meat. So now all I see is cheese. Like I said, this is 3 different kinds of cheese, and since I've greatly increased the amount of cheese that's in here, it's possible I won't actually even use all of this, because I might actually end up filling it up. Probably should have considered maybe making 2 batches of this, but that's okay. So that's our cheese. Now let's put another layer of meat on there. And then some more cheese. Like I said, I want this to be nice and cheesy. Getting a little bit on the table, but that's okay. We're gonna have way more of this than we need anyway, and we can clean up at the end. It's the advantage of having counters that aren't made out of cardboard. You can clean them up at the end, right? Okay. Like I said, this is all an experiment. This whole thing might flop, and I hope it doesn't, but it sounds like it should work pretty well. And I didn't quite use all of my cheese, but that's okay. We'll put that on an omelet tomorrow or something. It'll be good. I got that Pico De Gallo sauce I can use in omelets too, so it'll all get put to use. And next I'm going to pour in my 3 remaining ingredients, which is half a cup of Bisquick mix, original. Didn't have to even go out and buy that because I still had some of that left over. 2 eggs. And a cup of milk. And I'm just going to stir that together with a whisk, and we're going to pour it over our pie mix. Now this is another variation I'm going to make on the recipe. I'm a little concerned if I pour it on real quick, it's all going to just kind of flow over to the edges and end up on the counter. So I'm actually going to pour this on really slowly, give it enough time to make sure it all soaks in. Got to find all those little crevices, even though there aren't very many of them right now because of the cheese. And you can see it's already going over the edge a little bit. We're just going to be very careful. We're going to pour it very slowly. Keep moving it around to different sides so it has time to soak in. Kind of like watering a garden, right? We're getting there though. Filling in all the gaps. Try and keep as much off the counter as we can. We're doing okay. Got most of it in there. Like I said, I have no idea how this is going to come out, so we're all going to be surprised together. So we're just going to let that sit for a minute and soak in. We got a little bit running off the side, but that's okay. What we'll do is we'll let that kind of soak in here for a minute or two, and then what we'll do is we'll kind of wipe the edges with a rag just to kind of get all the excess off. I kind of figured that this was going to be one of the possibilities I might run into, that I got more for the pie tin than's going to fit in there, but like I said, we'll deal with it. Alright, a few minutes have passed. It's kind of soaked in a little bit, but I've also had to kind of clean up the edges a little bit with a paper towel. But it's ready to go, so let's throw it in the oven. And into the oven we go. Probably need to rearrange some of my racks a little bit in here. That one should probably be a little closer to the middle, but maybe next time. See you in 25 minutes. Now I ended up having to put a little bit of aluminum foil underneath the pie tin shortly after I started cooking, because it started to drip a little bit onto the bottom of the oven. But that is really starting to look really good, and I can't wait to see how it tastes, and we're gonna find out right about now. Oh yeah, that looks really yummy. I'm gonna take that out and we're gonna let that cool off a little bit, and then we're gonna give this a taste test, see how it came out. Oh yeah, that looks really yummy. Like I said, I'm gonna let it cool off for just a short period of time, and then we're gonna give this thing a taste test. Alright, so I can tell just by pulling it out of the pot that we achieved our desire to get it more stringy and cheesy. And so I'm going to give this definitely a taste test now and see how it's different from the previous one. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more flavor to it, a lot more bite. I can taste the Pico De Gallo sauce, I can taste the jalapenos, and I really like the really cheesy nature of it now. Now, I actually probably think if I do this again in the future, I'm going to do it slightly different. You know how I did the layer of the meat and the cheese and the meat and the cheese? I think next time I do this, I'm going to include the pancake mix in there. I'll put the meat in the pan, pour the sauce, or pour the pancake mix over that, then put the cheese over it, then put another layer of meat, then pour more of the pancake batter, and then do it that way. That way I think we'll get the pancake batter to settle to the bottom a little better. I think that was kind of what happened on this, is the pancake batter stayed on the top. It's still really good, and I have no complaints at all how this turned out. So I'm glad I tried this again. It's definitely worth a look. I'll put the recipe down in the description below so you can kind of compare it to the previous one and see what you think. I was also thinking that when we were preparing this, and I've actually forgot to do it, but that I was going to maybe include like some sliced mushrooms in there. I thought that might be really good too. In fact, that might be if you aren't really into the spicy, but like mushrooms, the cheese and the onions and the beef and some like mushrooms that are like sauteed or something, or even just fresh mushrooms and kind of sliced and put in there, that would probably be really good too. So anyway, I think that's what I got. That's all I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night. Oh, and one more thing before we wrap this up. I'm actually trying to figure out something. I was at Silo of Screams last night, and I believe one of my viewers came by and identified themselves. They saw me in the maze, they recognized me, they said my name, and I'm convinced it's one of my viewers. I'm trying to figure out who you are. I'm sorry, I was in character. I'm not allowed to break character, so we couldn't talk, but I would very much like to figure out who you are. So if that was you, send me a comment in the video below, or in the comments below, and let me know that was you, because I'd like to know who you were.